Hey Fright fans, Scott from Fright Props here, and today we're going to be taking a look at our Screenbox to go along with a 4-relay wireless remote. We're going to start with a Screenbox to go, and basically what this is it's a self-contained speaker with a triggerable MP3 player inside of it. So let's take a closer look at that. So this is a Screenbox to go, and as I said, it's a triggerable MP3 player built into a self-contained speaker. So that means that you can have this play sounds, which will play through the speaker, and that are loaded either on a micro SD card or into the internal memory of the actual MP3 player speaker combo here. There are 7 wires coming from the unit. The red and black wires are going to be your power, so red for positive and black for negative. The yellow and green wires are how you actually trigger the sounds. And there's a different wire for each of the 4 sounds that you can load onto the unit. And it does come preloaded with 4 sounds as well, which I'll show you in a bit. The way that you trigger the sounds is by touching the green wire to any one of these 4 yellow wires. So to trigger the first sound, you would touch green to the first wire. To trigger the second sound, you would touch green to the second wire. Third sound, third wire. Fourth sound, fourth wire. So let's go ahead and open the unit up so you can see what it looks like inside and how you would load your own sounds if you wanted to. If you turn the unit over, you'll see 2 screw holes here, and we can just use a screwdriver to remove the screws that are in there. Okay. Once you fully back those out, you should be able to remove the back of the housing. This part is the speaker here. We can set that down. And then you'll see here that the circuit board is held in place by a screw in the center here, which we will also remove. Set that aside. And then we can access the circuit board. And we can set aside the back of the housing here. All right, let's take a look at the circuit board now. So you can see here where the speaker is connected to the circuit board there. This is your power coming in, positive and negative. This is a potentiometer that will allow you to adjust the volume. It should be turned up all the way by default, but if you were ever to get one that was too quiet, it's possible that this could have been turned down all the way. You just come in here and turn it up. Here you have your 4 wires for your 4 different sounds. And one thing that can be helpful is if you do open this up, you may want to actually label these. If you look very closely, you'll be able to see what it says P1, P2, P3, and P4. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4 for your sounds. So it might be helpful to put a little piece of tape or something on each of these yellow leads that are outside once you seal it back up and mark them as 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you have your green trigger wire here. At the bottom, we have a USB connection and a micro SD card. You can use the USB to load sounds directly from a computer onto the internal memory, or you can load sounds onto a micro SD card and put that in here. Now, one thing I should mention about the USB, and this trips people up a lot, is that you should use a PC. These players don't really play well with Mac computers. There's some kind of way that Macs write their file structure that this player doesn't like. And the other thing is that the cable that you use has to be rated for data transfer. There are multiple types of these cables, and some of them are rated only for charging. They're used to charge phones or other electronic devices, and they don't work well for data transfer. So I'd say majority of the time I have somebody contact me about one of these that's not playing their sounds or they're not able to load sounds. It's because the USB cable they're using is not one that is rated for data transfer. All right, so let's go ahead and power this on. So again, you can see that we have our power wires here, positive and negative. We're going to be using a 12-volt power supply, which I have coming in from off screen here. And to do this today, we're going to be using an adapter like this. We call this a female adapter with screw terminals because it has a female barrel plug end on one side and 2 screw terminals here on the other. So we can go ahead and just plug that in to our power supply, and then we can wire our red and our negative into positive and negative here on the adapter. All right, so once we plug in our power and wire it to the board, you'll see the LED light will come on here, letting us know that this is powered up, and we can go ahead and test our sound files. So again, each one of these yellow wires will be connected to a different sound, and we activate them by touching the green wire to the yellow. Now, of course, volume is always hard to translate onto video, but that was super loud. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that down just a tad. Test it again. A little bit better. These speakers are super loud in person. Again, that's probably going to be sort of hard for you to tell over the video. Let's go ahead and test the other sounds now. So that was sound number 1, and this will be sound number 2. And these are the preloaded sounds that come with the unit. And then we'll trigger sound number 3. And sound number 4. And that's a basic setup for this unit. You know, you essentially power it on, and then you decide how it is you want to actually do the touching together of these wires. So you can use this to activate 1 sound or 4 different sounds. And what we're going to do today is actually use one of our wireless triggers that has 4 relays to activate each one of these different sounds by pressing a different button on the relay remote. We'll go ahead and put the screen box to go back together now. Just unplug the board. We'll get the housing back here. Place the board back into the housing face down. We'll use the same screw from earlier to mount it back into place. Once the circuit board is secured back into the housing, you can run your wires here through the bottom. There's a little bit of a notch in the housing there for those to come out of. And then if you look here at the speaker itself, you'll see there's a little notch here at the top and then the 2 screw holes that the mounting screws go to. So all you want to do is take this. You don't want to twist it too much because you don't want to break these wires off, but you just want to place it back onto the housing and seat it in there so that it lines up properly. Take that notch at the top and line it up with the little peg that's inside. And then you should be able to turn it over and screw it into place. All right, so the screen box goes all put back together now. I'm actually going to remove this adapter because the way we're going to set it up with the wireless remote, we're actually going to use the same power supply to power the wireless remote as we are the screen box to go. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off. I'm going to set it aside because we will use it later. Now we can go ahead and take out the wireless remote and look at that. All right, so here we have our 4 relay wireless remote, and you can see that the relay itself is housed inside of this container here. So we can go ahead and first open that up, and this might feel a little wrong, but you do sort of have to get tenacious with it. Just pop that off, and then we'll be able to get to the circuit board inside, which you can then remove and set this part off to the side. This is the remote itself. You can see there's a extending antenna here and a little slide there that reveals the 4 buttons. So there's 1 button for each of these 4 relays on the circuit board here, A, B, C, and D. So those will each activate one of the 4 relays depending on which one you press. All right, so let's take a closer look at the circuit board itself. So again, we have 4 relays on this module. This is the antenna here, and there's a learning key here, which we'll use in a little bit to kind of program the functions of the relays themselves. This part can be quite confusing because a lot of times these relays will be labeled on the underside of the circuit board, but as you can see for this one, they are not. 2 of them are labeled here, ground and voltage, so this is going to be your negative and this will be your plus. But these are all just labeled with numbers, 1 through 12. So it would be easy to not understand which terminal is which when you look at this. So the way it works is that each relay has 3 terminals, and the way that they're organized is going to be normally closed, common, normally open. So number 1 is going to be normally closed for relay 1, 2 is common for relay 1, and 3 is normally open for relay 1. 4 will be normally closed for relay 2, 5 will be common for relay 2, 6 will be normally open for relay 2, and so on around to the other 2 relays. So once we know that, we can then wire our screen box to go to the wireless trigger. But first, let's power it on and go through the setup of the unit itself. All right, so now we can power this unit up, and I have our screw terminal adapter that we were using before. I've added a piece of 22 gauge 2-strand wire to it. I've wired the red to the plus and the black to the minus. And we're just going to take that and wire then the black to the ground and the red to the voltage on our relay wireless remote here. Okay, we can screw those in. All right, and with that wired up, we can take our same 12-volt power supply from earlier and connect it to the power input of the wireless remote. Once we have power applied, the next thing we have to do is program the base station to recognize the remote and also to program the function of the relays. So the first thing I always like to do is clear the memory. And these were tested at the factory, and they may have put it into a mode that you don't want to use. So to do that, you're going to hit this learning key, the black learning key here, 8 times. Should see the LED flash 7 times and then turn off. All right, so to make this easier to see, I've wired 4 of our 12-volt nano spots to the outputs of the relay wireless remote here. You can see we're using that same adapter as before, but now I have it wired into the ground and voltage terminals of the relay, so that's where our power is coming in. I then have all the negative wires of my 12-volt lights sharing the negative pin. I've jumped the positive to the common terminals, going all the way around, so to each of the 4 relays, and then I have the positive side of our 12-volt lights going to the normally open terminals of each of the relays. So we're going to go ahead and power this up. I'm going to bring in my 12-volt power from off screen again and hook it here. That will power up the relay board itself. And we're going to go ahead and set the mode of the relay board. And we're going to use momentary mode first. That's the most common mode. 99% of the time you're using a remote like this, it's going to be in that mode. So to do that, you hit the learning key 1 time. The LED will flash and stay on, and then you hit any button on the remote once. LED should flash 3 times and turn off. Now this is set to momentary mode, so when I hit a button on the remote, the corresponding light will turn on and stay on until I let it go. So relay 1 is red, relay 2 is green, relay 3 is blue, and relay 4 is yellow. And again, these will just stay on for however long I press the button. So it can be a short press, or I can press and hold. And it just kind of mimics the behavior of what I'm actually doing with the physical buttons. The next mode we're going to set is a toggle mode. So to do that, we're going to hit the learning key 2 times. LED will flash and stay on, and then we're going to hit any button on the remote. Now these will be set to toggle. So when I hit the button for relay 1, the light will stay on until I hit that same button again. Same for the other relays here. So 2, 3, and 4. And so again, that basically just sort of toggles the output on and off. The next mode we have is a latching mode that actually sort of flip-flops the 2 sets of relays. So I'll demonstrate. In order to set that, we hit this 3 times. Light will come on and stay. Then we're going to hit A and then B. And the way that this will work now is when I hit A, relay 1's going to come on and stay on. If I hit A again, nothing happens. But if I hit B, relay 2 comes on and relay 1 goes off. The other 2 are set the same way, where C will turn on relay 3, and D will turn off relay 3 and turn on relay 4. So it sort of toggles back and forth between the 1 and 2 and the 3 and 4 relay. All right, so the next mode is sort of a hybrid mode. To set it, we're going to hit the button here 4 times. And then we're going to hit any button on the remote. And now we've set the first 2 relays to be momentary and the other 2 relays, 3 and 4, to be toggle. So if I hit button A here for relay 1, that's momentary. It'll stay on as long as I hold it. Let it go, it turns off. Same for relay 2. But relay 3 is toggle. So you'll see it stays on until I hit it again. And the same for relay 4. So that's sort of a mix of having momentary on one set of relays and toggle on the other. The next setting is similar, but it's going to set these 2, relays 3 and 4, to flip-flop. So 1 and 2 will still be momentary, and then 3 and 4 are going to flip back and forth. So to do that, we're going to hit this button here 5 times. And then hit a button on the remote. Now you'll see that relay 1, still momentary. Relay 2, still momentary. Relay 3, on, but not a toggle. Hitting C again doesn't turn it back off. Hitting D will turn this one off and this one on. So flip-flop back and forth on relays 3 and 4. So you can see now that the modes are sort of derivations of each other, where they're just sort of different features on the different relays. So we have another mode for 6 presses. And we'll hit any button on the remote. And this one is going to be toggle on 1 and 2 and latching on 3 and 4. So hit A, and now this one is toggling. So I have to hit A to turn it off again. Same thing with B or 2. And then these ones are doing the same thing they did before, where they're flip-flopping back and forth. These ones, of course, you can turn on at the same time. These ones will just flip back and forth. And again, to clear this all out so you can start fresh, just hit this key 8 times. And the LED will blink 7 times, turn off, the memory is now clear. And you'll notice if I hit a button now, nothing happens. So this is another thing that can trip people up as they get their unit, they're hitting buttons and nothing's going on. And that's because they have to set the mode for the wireless base station here. So let's go ahead and set it back to momentary. And go ahead and run through it, make sure it's set to momentary like we want it, and yes it is. And now we can go ahead and hook this up to our Screambox to go. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is power the Screambox to go and the wireless trigger relay here with this 12-volt power that's coming in. So it's always best to do this stuff with the power off. So what I'm going to do is wire this adapter into the positive and negative, and I'm also going to wire the wires from the Screambox to go into the positive and negative as well. I'm just wiring them in parallel, so 2 reds in the voltage terminal and 2 blacks in the ground terminal. All right, so you can see there that now we have our adapter, which will bring power in, and we're sharing these power terminals with the Screambox to go as well. Now we can wire up our sound wires to the relay outputs here. So if you remember, the way that we trigger sounds on a Screambox to go is by touching the green wire to the various yellow wires to play the different sounds. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to wire our green wire to the common terminal of the first relay, and then we're going to jump it to the common terminals of the other 3 relays so that each relay has a contact for that green wire. So to do that jumping, I just have a little piece of scrap 22 gauge wire here. We're going to insert that along with the green wire into the first common terminal of relay 1. So that's terminal number 2. Now we're going to take that scrap wire and wire that along with a second scrap wire into terminal 5, which is the common terminal for relay 2. All right, then continuing around, we're going to come over to the common terminal for relay 3, which is number 8. We're going to wire this jumper in with yet another jumper, which will be our final jumper to jump to the common terminal relay 4, which is number 11. And we'll finish up by wiring the final leg of our jumper series over into terminal 11, the common for relay 4. Now, one distinction I want to make between the wiring we're seeing here and the wiring I did earlier with the LED lights is that before, I was actually jumping the positive power to these terminals. Now you can see that our power is up here. It's isolated. It's not coming down to these relays at all. That's because I don't want to send power to the Screambox to go. That would actually fry it. I just want contact closure. All I want is for when this relay activates for it to touch its C terminal to its NO terminal, which is going to touch the green wire to the yellow wire, which I'll install in a moment, and just basically touch them together. No voltage. We don't want to actually send any 12-volt current into the trigger terminals on the circuit board. We just want that contact closure. So now we can take our yellow wires and we can wire them into the NO terminals for the relays. So again, for terminal 1, or for relay 1, that will be terminal 3. For relay 2, that's going to be terminal 6. For relay 3, that's going to be terminal 9. And for relay 4, it will be terminal 12. All right, so now our Screambox is connected to our wireless relay. We can go ahead and power on both units here with our 12-volt power supply. Just to make sure, let's go ahead and set this back to momentary mode again, just to make sure it's on the right mode. So I'm going to hit this one time. LED should flash and come on. I'll hit a button. It should come off, and now we should be able to trigger all 4 different sounds with the 4 buttons on our remote. One thing you might notice if you're using the preloaded sounds on the Screambox to go, or if you loaded your own sounds and didn't load a configuration file, is that the sounds will be interruptible. So for example, if I hit A and then hit B before the sound finishes, it's going to interrupt the first sound with the second. So you can actually change that by using a configuration file, which you load either into the internal memory or on your micro SD card that has your sounds into the Screambox to go. And all that is, it's just a text file with the number 2 in it. and then you're going to name it read.cfg, and then load that along with your sounds into the Screambox to go. That way, it will actually not interrupt the sounds if you hit a button while one sound is playing. So it really just depends on how you want to use it. All right, so that's a look at wiring a Screambox to go up to a 4-relay wireless remote. If you have any questions, of course, you can always leave a comment on this video or send us an email at sales@fryprops.com. Thanks.